So one was taking care of arithmetic exception and the other one was taking about uh, array index out of bound exception. So now when you are using the try catch with multiple statements or multiple catch blocks, so you should take care of one scenario. So what is that scenario means? So I'll just tell what is that scenario means. Here I have one try block and multiple catch blocks. So in this situation, um, see how you should write the code means when we have one catch block and multiple try block means the order of catch block should be such that it should be from subclasses to superclasses. It should be from subclass to superclass. It should be from subclass to superclass. See here, this is my try block. This is my try block. So after this, I'm having a catch block. Here, the first catch should be the one related to subclasses. Like, so you know that we have exception class, we have exception class. So for this exception class, we have subclasses like IO exception, IO exception, arithmetic exception, array index out of bound exception, then null pointer exception. So all these things like this, we will get some exceptions. So these are the subclasses. These are the subclasses, and this is the superclass which can handle all these things. This exception class can handle IO exception. This exception class can handle arithmetic exception. This exception class can handle array index out of bound issues. It can also access null pointer exception, number format exception, all these things. So all these things will be handled by super classes. The super class the super class can handle all the exceptions of its subclasses. Here, the exception class is capable of handling all this various subclasses. For example, see if you take an example of if you take an example of a similar example can be like, see the class teacher can get all the details. The class teacher can get all the details related to the student, related to the subjects, like the percentage of the marks of each of the students in that particular class. So that is a super class. You can treat the class teacher as a super class, whereas the subject teachers, they will have only the details related to their details related to their subjects. The same way, here exception is your super class. Exception is your super class, so it can handle any kind of situations. It can handle array index error, it can handle arithmetic error, it can handle number format exception, it can handle null pointer exception, like that. So when you have multiple catch classes means the order of catch should be from specific to general. So that is, first you should write the subclasses part. Subclasses, arithmetic exception, or array index out of bound exception. And at the last, you should use the last catch block should be the general one. So when you have multiple catch blocks, when you have multiple catch block means the order of the catch block should be from more specific to uh, least specific. So here arithmetic exception will handle only issues related to division by zero or arithmetic scenarios. This array index out of bound will handle situation related to array index out of bound also. But this exception class is, that is a super class. It can handle any kind of exception. So that should be the order. So this concept you should keep in mind. So when you're dealing with multiple catch blocks, if I add one more catch block, so if I add one more catch block, if I add one more catch block array, right? Array index out of C. Now I've added three catch blocks. So the first one is taking care of only arithmetic exception. The second one will take care of only array index out of bound exception. The third one will take care of all the things. So this exception, it can handle arithmetic, it can handle array index out of bound, it can handle number format exception, it can access IO exception, all these things because that exception is the super class. So this should be the order. So from more specific to uh, the less specific means it's a generalized one. So this should be the order. So what will happen means in your program, if arithmetic issue happens, so this catch will take care of that. If array index issue happens, it will take care of this catch. This line will take care of that. If you get any other issues, if you get issues other than arithmetic or exception, that will be taken care by this exception class, this exception class. So this is see, for example, if you have any problem with respect to a particular subject means you'll go and approach that teacher, so he will be able to clarify the issues related to that subject. So but whereas the class teacher can resolve the issues with respect to any of the subjects also, because you'll be having the details of all the subjects. So like that. So this point you should keep in mind. So if I run like this, if I run like this, I'll not get any error. I'll just handle that exception. So that handle exception, I'm getting that. but but if I reverse this, what will happen? You have to check that. So instead of writing like this, i will write I'll write the superclass first, followed by the subclasses. I will get an error because because this superclass itself will handle any kind of exception. The superclass itself will handle any kind of exception, because of which this code is unreachable. So you can see unreachable catch block. You are getting a message because whatever exception is there, that exception will be handled by this line, because it is a general one. It is a general one which can access any kind of exception. So if it is array index also, it will handle. If it is null pointer also, it will have, handle. It is number point also, it will handle. So because of which you will get an error. So that is the order which you should follow. Did you get this? Did you get this? Whether you understood this? Whether you understood this concept? Yes or no? Yes or no? See, you should respond to the queries so that I can get to know that you are understanding or not. So did you get this scenario? So how the order should be?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the second um, situation. Like this, um, like this. The next, the what is the next concept means? The next concept will be like the nested try. The next concept is nested try means within the try block you're writing one more try block statement. So that is an example. So that is an example of uh, nested try. So the next is nested try statements. So what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this nested try statement means? Um, it's a scenario. It's a scenario where you are using a try statement. You are using a try statement within another try statement. So each time a try statement is entered, the context of that exception will be pushed onto the stack. If the inner try statement doesn't have the catch for that exception, then the next try statements catch handler will be inspected, and this process will continue until one of the catch statement succeeds. So if no catch statement matches means, then the Java runtime system will handle the exception. So that is how it will work. So um, we can understand this um, with respect to the example. So we'll just write an example. The same example we can modify, and we will understand this. We'll understand this. Um, so I'll just modify the same example. So there is one already. We have one try block. Already we have one try block. Um, so what I will do means inside this inside this try block, I'll try to create one more try block. So that we can handle that situation. So one second, I'll just make the modification. I'll just make the modification uh, for this program itself. Hmm. So we have one try state, we have one statement. Mm, so this 42. So this is one try catch. So what I will do means I'll write try statement. I'll write a try statement um, so that the try statement contains one more try statement. And here I'll close that block. Here I will close that block. So that is handling um, the situation. Okay, that is handling the scenario. So let us modify this one try statement I've written. Okay, it is being modified and catch block is there. Okay, so now uh, how to explain this? How to mm, okay. One second, I'll just simplify that. I'll just simplify this example further so that it will be easy for you to understand. Okay. Here I'll add arithmetic exception. So here I will add array index. Okay. Okay. So what I'm doing in this example means we are we are writing a nested try statement. So what is this nested try statement means within this try block. So within this try block, I'm using one more one more try statement, so that you will call it as the nested try statement. Inside a try statement you are using one more block of try, so that we will call it as nested try. How this nested try will work means the first thing is, see, when it is executing this line, when it is executing this scenario, so now it has already encountered an exception. Since it has already encountered an exception, first it will come and check here. First it will come and check at the inner catch block. So if it is handled means the exception is handled and the program will run normally. If the exception is not handled by this catch block means again it will look for the catch block outside this try block. Immediately outside this try block, whatever is a catch block, so it will look for that. So outside this nested try, we have this catch block for array index out of bound. So if this is available, if this line is able to handle the exception, it will handle that. If not, again it will look for another catch block which can handle the exception. If none of the catch block handles that, then you will get an then that exception will be handled by the Java itself, that the Java runtime system itself will handle that. So what it will do means first it will check the inner try statement, will check with the inner catch block. So if the exception is handled, it will continue normally. If the exception doesn't handle, then it will check for the catch statement outside this nested catch, means outside the outer block at line number 17. So in that case, if it matches means if the exception matches means then it will proceed normally. If not, if none of again, or if not, it will check for furthermore catch blocks. If none of the catch block matches, then the Java runtime system will handle the exception. So for this, see, for in this scenario, in case of this example, you can see that this is my try statement. So this is my try statement. So I'll just to understand, I'll just modify this. See, this is my inner try statement. First, it will encounter the exception. So first, it will look for the catch that is present inside this try block. So this is my inner catch block. So if this line is not able, if this is not able to handle the exception, means it will come outside this block and it will look for the exception outside this block, which is at line number 17. So even at line number 17, if it is not able to handle the exception, means again, if we have one more exception, if you have one more exception like E, if you have one more exception, means again it will comment check this. So even if line number 16 also the exception is not handled, means even if the catch block at line number 16 is not able to access, means again it will continue further until the exception gets matched. If none of the catch matches the exception, means it will be handled by the Java runtime system. So here I'll just simplify this. Here what I'm doing means I'm creating this will cause an arithmetic exception. No, so now if I build and run this, I'll get that exception is handled. That exception is handled. So that's why I'm getting java.lang arithmetic exception, which is division by zero, which is division by zero. So now here the exception got arised and it was handled by the corresponding catch block, which was inside the array itself, inside the array itself. Now what will happen means now consider a situation where I'll just write integer c is equal to c of some 45 is equal to some value 15. So now what will happen? Now I will run this. So now see, now exception was there. The exception got raised in this line. So first it came to check inside the inner catch block. The inner catch block is arithmetic exception. The inner catch block is arithmetic exception. But here it has raised the array index out of bound exception. So this block is not able to handle that. So again the control came to this catch block. So this catch block is capable of handling array index out of bound. So that's why we got the message, the java.lang array index out of bound exception has been handled. In consider a situation where uh, we have null pointer number format exception, right? We have number format exception here, and we have array index out of bound exception. And I'll write a line where d will be equal to 15 divided by 0. So now if I run this line, I'll get an exception. So if in this scenario, see in this scenario, arithmetic exception was raised. First it will check the catch block. This can handle only number format. Again it will check here. It can handle only array index out of bound. But I want to handle Java arithmetic exception, which is handled by the Java runtime system. So none of the catch block got matched. So the Java runtime system handled that. So this is how the nested try statements will work. This is how the nested try statements will work. So this is the working of nested try statement. Let us simplify this. Further. Okay. So now we know, as of now, what we have learned. We have learned about try block. We have learned about catch block. Try block with multiple catch statements. Nested try block. So now we will learn about a new word called throw. So what is this throw means? See, till now only we were catching the exceptions that were thrown by the Java runtime system. But you can manually throw. You can manually um, throw an exception by using this statement, by using this keyword called throws. You can use this keyword throw to throw an exception. So what is the syntax? The syntax has been written: throw new keyword throwable instance. For example, throw new arithmetic exception, and what is the message that you want to send. So like that. So this throw keyword can be used to throw an exception manually. So far whatever we have studied there, the Java runtime system was throwing the exception, and we were catching that. So even you can also throw the exception by using this statements, like throw new, the throwable instance. That can be like that should be an object of a class called throwable, or a subclass of throwable. So the flow of execution will stop immediately after this throw statements. Any subsequent statements means that will not be executed, and also it will also check the try block to see if it has a catch statement that will match the type of exception. If it is not finding the match, again the control will transfer to the the next try state next in closing try statement like this. If no match is found, then the default exception handler will take care of this handling the same way. So the working is same. So let us check how to throw an exception explicitly. So how to throw an exception explicitly means, what you have to do means, we'll just modify this program. So I'll just create a function. I'll just create a function. I'll just create a function called demo. I'll just create a function called demo, or let it be display on. Okay. I'll create a function called demo. So this function called demo, it should throw the exception. It should throw the exception. If you want to throw an exception means you have to write it within the try block. So subsequently there should be a catch block for that. Subsequently there should be a catch block for that. So now here I want to throw an exception. So that exception I'll name it as throw new. This is the syntax. What is the syntax? Throw new exception name. The exception name I'll give it as null pointer exception. Exception name I'll give it as null pointer exception, and some message. Some message will be like some message. I'll just type it as some message. So that can be anything, that a string of value which I want to pass. Now I'm throwing the null pointer exception. I want to catch that exception. I want to catch the null pointer exception. So null pointer exception, I'll take it as E. Null pointer exception, I'll take it as E, and I'll just handle that system dot out dot println. So I'll just print it as he. I'll just type like this. So and here uh, this is regarding the try statement, the demo function, the static void demo try catch, and I'll enclose this. Okay, so I don't want this line. So this is my function. No, this is my function. This is my function. I'll write it here. So there is a function called demo. So the demo function is throwing null pointer exception, uh, exception. So I'll just call this function called demo. So I'll call this function called demo. So now if I call this function called demo, what it is happening means it will go and execute this demo function. So inside the demo function we have a try block. So this try block is throwing null pointer exception. So I am creating the exception now. I am throwing the exception. I am throwing the null pointer exception, which is handled by the corresponding catch block. So I'll build this, and if I run this, you'll get a message. See, null pointer exception. So if instead of here, if I write it as I have created the exception, I have created the exception. So I can write that also. So that will be displayed here. That will be displayed here. So instead of writing like this, even you can write it here only. When you can write it here only, the simplified example. So if you want to create an exception manually means you can follow this. You can follow this one more back. Okay, like this. So throw. So this is the usage. So this is the usage of throw keyword. So throw keyword is used to create to throw the exception explicitly from your end. From your end, you can throw. So here I'm using the new keyword. Here I'm using the throw new keyword to create the null pointer exception. So whatever I'm writing within that double quotes, so that will be displayed. And if you don't want to write anything also, you can leave this blank also, like this also you can run, so that is not a issue, so nothing will be displayed. So this is the usage of throws keyword. So this is the usage of throw keyword. So you are throwing the exception explicitly. So we have one more keyword called throws. See, this throws is applicable to methods. So if there is a method that will cause exception, but it is not handling. It is capable of causing the exception, but it doesn't handle. So in that case, it should inform the caller that this might throw an exception. This is capable of throwing an exception. So if it suggests, if it informs this to the caller, means the caller method can guard themselves against that exception. See, for example, if this method in this scenario, in this example, if this method is calling exception, means if this method is capable of calling exception, means it can inform the caller. It can inform the caller so that um, the caller can guard himself against that exception. So this is the usage of throws. So here we have a method which will cause an exception, but it does not handle. So it has to tell this behavior to the caller so that the caller can guard himself against the exception. So how to do this means in front of the method, for example, add is a method. In front of the methods, like I'll just write a method called display. I'll write a method called display. In front of the method, you need to use this throws keyword and the exception it can throw. The throws, it has to write the throws keyword and the exception it can throw. If that method will throw arithmetic exception, means here he has to write arithmetic exception. If it will throw means array index out of bound exception, means here it has to write array index out of bound exception. So like this, it can tell so that the method can handle this. So let us check the same thing with an example. So here um, here we should have a method which is capable of uh, handling the exception, which is capable of handling the uh, exception. How it will be done means by the usage of throws keyword in front of the method and the exception it will throw. So I'll just write the program for that. So we need to have a method. I'll call this method as display only. So now this is my method. So I have a method. So this method will throw an exception. So this method will throw an exception. This method will throw an exception. Let it be like arithmetic exception. So this method will throw an exception. So this method throw an exception. So I will throw the exception. So like this, I will throw the exception. So this method will throw the exception. So this will be a method. So this method will throw the exception. But but this information is not known. This information is not known to this caller. So this information is not known to this caller method. So this information is not known to this caller method. And also here, just write arithmetic now. Yeah, arithmetic exception. Okay, now the code is perfect. But this information is not known. This information is not known to the caller. So in order to understand this, I'll just comment this part. And I will run now. So now Now if I just try to call display function, see this display function will throw the error. This display function is capable of throwing the error, but I don't know because I have not been notified. So I have not been notified. So in that scenario, if I run this, see the Java runtime system is handling that. The Java runtime system is handling that. But but if 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 that function had notified the caller that it will throw an error means, then I could have handled that. How to notify? How to notify means by using the throws keyword and the exception it is throwing. Here it is throwing the arithmetic exception. Here it is throwing the arithmetic exception. So in this way, now this function display will be notified that it is that display function will throw that display function will throw an arithmetic exception. So since it will throw an arithmetic exception, they can guard against that. So now you will not get the error. All these things will be handled. See, I will throw the exception. So this is how um, you can use the throws keyword to tell a method that it is throwing the exception which it is not capable of handling, so that the caller can guard against the exception. So this is regarding the throws keyword. So and we have one last fundamental, finally. So what is this finally? You just look into this for a minute. You just look into this code. You just look into this code for a minute. um, we'll be just back in a minute. You just look into this code for a minute. Okay. So now the last one with respect to this um, exception handling is finally. So what is this finally means? This keyword will be executed even if the exception occurs. Also, even if the exception doesn't occur, also the code written inside this um, finally will be executed. See, for example, you would have opened a file for reading. So in between, uh, um, because of some issues, the program got hanged. So in that situation also, this finally block, what it will do means, if you have written a code to close the file, inside that finally block means that statement will be executed even if the program crashes also. That, I mean, even if the program ends abruptly also, that statement will be executed. So finally will be used in situations where Even if the exception happens also, even if the exception doesn't happen also, that statement should be executed. If you're opening a file means that file has to be closed. You're connecting to the database. You're connecting to the database to perform some operations like selecting the data, retrieving the data, inserting the data. After that, once this operation is done, the connection to the database should be closed, like that. Um, like that. What this finally will do means that statement will be executed regardless of whatever code is there, whatever might be the reason, the code inside the finally will be executed. So this is the usage of finally keyword. So don't confuse this with final keyword. Final is different, finally is different. So mm, so what it will do means whether exception is there or not, this code written inside this finally block will be executed. So even if cat statement is not there also, this finally statement will be executed. Um, so this is the usage. So this is the usage of finally. So let us check this. Let us check this with the example. Let us check this with the example. So finally, no, finally. So I'll write a program. I'll write. So already the program is written. So there is a class called simple. It is containing a function called display a. It is containing a function called display a. So for this function called display a, what I will do means the first time I will throw an exception. So first time I'll throw an exception. So in order to throw an exception, I will write it inside the try block. I'll write it inside the try block. Write it inside the try block. Okay. So there is a function called display. I'm writing some exception. I'm writing some exception called I will throw. I'll throw function name display. Yeah, I'll just throw. This is just a message to know where we are. And after this, I will not write the cat statement. I will write finally. I will write finally. So I'll write the final statement, and I will write some message system dot out dot println inside a block final, inside a block final. So this BL inside a block final. So likewise I will create mm, two more functions. Likewise I will create two more functions. Likewise I'll create two more functions. I'll call this as I'll call this function as display b. But for function display b, i will not I will not throw the exception. I will not throw the exception. So I will just use the return statement. I'll just use the return statement. I will not throw the exception, and I'll just write a message. I'll just write a message like we are inside inside b block. I'm inside B block, so that you should know that that line is executed. Again, again, um, so again, I will create one more function. Again, I will create one more function. Again, I will create one more function. One more function. I will call that function by the name display C. Here, inside C block, and I am not using the return statement. So these are the difference. See, first function, first function it is throwing an exception, and I'm having a final statement. Second place, it is not throwing any exception, but it is using return statement. The third scenario, it is having just a statement, and it is not having any return keyword. So after this, after this, I know that I know that display A, display B, display C. Uh, this is not A block. This is C block. It's a C block. This is also, this is B block. Messages, that's all. So after this, I will call display A. I will call display a function, and I will call, because it is throwing the errors, it is throwing the exception. So I'm handling that. For display B and C, it will not throw any exception, so no need to handle them. So now if I run this, you can see the outputs. If I run this, you can see the outputs inside block A. Inside block A, I am handling the arithmetic exception. So inside block B, this block B is getting executed. Inside block C, the block C final is getting executed. So you can check that. See, even if there is an exception also, we got this output. That means the finally block was executed. Even if there was a return statement also, the final statement was executed. In the third scenario, even if there was no exception also, the final statement was executed. How to know that the final statement was executed means you can see the output inside A block final, inside B block final, inside C block final. So these three statements are sufficient to tell that the finally block will be executed irrespective of the situation, exception, no exception, return statement, like that. So this is the usage of finally block in exception handling. So I'll just stop the class now. So whatever is there, we will the remaining thing we will see in the next classes.